Oh, okay.
So,
all right, and we're live, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Welcome to the Locker Room Access pregame show. I'm Chris, that's Fresh, or I'm Hav, that's Fresh, and
what's up?
Fresh is coming to us from a new location.
That's
He
right.
has branched out. Fresh, tell us where you are.
Hey, it's not often I get out of town, man. I'm upstate New York. It's a town called Athens, right east of the Hudson River, right around. It's about 15 minutes south of Coxsackie. I have one of your favorite vacation spots growing up. I remember Coxsackie.
Yes.
And 30 miles south of
there.
Albany. 30 miles south of Albany. We're out here on the lake. Me and Jimmy James just doing man shit all weekend, guys.
I love it. And we got my man Josh joining us. Fresh, I did get some earlier video footage, and I want to confirm that you did kill a deer with your bare hands this morning for breakfast. Is that true?
Deers are so 1980s. I kill bobcats up here.
All right.
But I get them at Walmart. I get them at Super Walmart, so it's a little easier.
Hey, great segue. We're not talking bobcats. We're talking tigers today. Right. Clemson. You know, I love this. It's always rough when we sort of struggle a little bit, but what makes it great is that every game, it feels like a do or die. And that makes it important. That makes it exciting. I know there's a bunch of people on Locker Room Access. They're cooking chili or stew or, you know, having some kind of a vegan pumpkin seed salad with dressing on the side. Fresh has got his Coors Light. This is a big one today, boys. I'm excited for it. I'm going to start with just a couple umbrella questions here. What game or what team has more at stake today? Is it Virginia or is it Clemson? And I'll go to you, Josh, to start.
I personally think more at stake is Clemson, just because of kind of the skid that they've been on. I've seen a lot of people kind of labeling this a must-win, and I don't know if it's quite that far yet for us, but there are still a couple Q1 opportunities on the schedule, so it's kind of one of those ones where if you win, it kind of opens the margin for error a little bit more as you go on. But ultimately, I think they need to kind of snap their skid more so than we need to prove something today.
Yeah.
Fresh, agree or disagree with Josh?
I hate agreeing, but I'm going to agree, and I'll tell you why. Clemson came out early in the year, and we're reading about it. I haven't watched them this year at all. But talking about it, hearing about it, it's like, okay, they're a top 10 team in the country. Then they inevitably hit one of these skids, which I'm not surprised at. You know, that's dangerous for us, man. If they kind of have their team together and they realize it's do or die, we're going in there trying to win our 6th or 7th in a row, and we're getting ahead of this really tricky part in our schedule. In my opinion, it's going to become tricky. So, if Josh is right, I don't have an opinion who it's more important to, but I know it's more important to me than it is to them. How about that?
Okay, I like that. So this is not new territory for Clemson. Last year at this point, they were 18-5, 10-2 in the ACC. The February doldrums hit them hard. They went 5-5 down the stretch, and then we absolutely killed them in the ACC tournament last year, if you guys remember. So
that's right.
Not a different thing. Brad Brownell, their head coach, 14 years at Clemson, which seems like impossible.
Yeah.
He's like the Dick Clark of no, Tony's the Dick Clark because he doesn't age, but he's been around for a while. He's kind of like the Casey Kasem of basketball. I feel like he's been here a really long time. This is incredible. All right, I was reading this morning. Think about this: 14 years at Clemson. In 14 years, he's made 3 NCAA tournaments. And he has 2 wins, and both of them came in 2018. So basically 1 year in 14, 1 year out of 14 years, they've won games in the tournament. You don't see coaches get that kind of leash.
No.
So he must be really good with the athletic director, the administrators, because that's a big school that has some money. Josh, give me your impressions of Brownell and his tenure and his teams in the past. What do you think of him?
Yeah, he just seems like the ultimate good guy, right? Like, no matter how much they kind of fall in their own way, he can't just seem to get out of there. I mean, I will say, no offense to him because I like him as a coach, but I do think it helps how successful their football program has been to kind of take some of the light away from him, for things they're looking for. Everybody's kind of happy down there with all that success. But I mean, as far as his teams go, they play tough. They try to play decent defensively. This year he's got a good physical big size team, although they don't really shoot the ball the greatest. So I think that was kind of mentioned in the forums a little bit ago. I think Who's Got Next kind of brought it in there about the shooting percentages and how they fared for them and how they fared for us as well. So I think that's going to be one of the big things today.
Yeah, no doubt. Fresh. We're going to do some segments along the way. This is called Back in My Day. Day.
I'm here for it.
Let's talk about, and you're the perfect guy for this. Let's talk about Little John, what it's like playing there, and your recollections of playing Clemson.
Little John was incredible because they put students under the basket, old school high school style. They had bleachers. Right? They had bleachers.
Standing room only.
And I'm not sure who was allowed to do that. I think the way they selected them was to handpick the most racist verbally students they could find.
Well, they had to be drunk. They had to have a blood alcohol content of 3 to get in.
But dude, the verbiage was incredible. They'd say things you're like, wow, you can't say that about somebody's mom or dad or cousin. It was incredible. But man, they had athletes. And I tell you, piggybacking off what Josh was saying, why I think Brunell's been there so long, he has a penchant at home for winning big games. They beat Carolina a lot at home. Okay. And I think Clemson's fan base cares about that kind of nonsense. But going to Little John was fun. And by the way, don't forget that was the only hotel we stayed at that had a pool. The one in Clemson.
I remember.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, I remember Clemson because those same students that you just referenced were raining insults on me, my family, my mom, my sister, my father. I was on the bench a lot, so I was right there to catch it all. I was like the pool filter of insults, just straining out the least offensive and capturing the meanest things that anyone said.
You also had some great comebacks, though, great one-liners, which we probably can't repeat here.
Yeah, I also had. That was where I broke my nose. David Young kneed me in the face, and I broke my nose there. And I've told this story on forum a couple of years ago, but I got knocked out right kind of around center court. Ethan came out, put a towel over my face. They pushed the top of my nose underneath my left eye, and it was bad. And I walked out of there, and I still remember a guy. As we walked through the tunnel, because both teams come through one tunnel, a guy dumped a Dr. Pepper, which was 20% Dr. Pepper and 80% bourbon on my head. And I remember I looked at Ethan, I said, I think that's Dr. Pepper. And he's like, yeah, we got to go to the hospital.
I remember that well. I remember the Dr. Pepper just flowing out. And by the way, think of Josh, just to go back in our day and I'll quit. Think about a starting big man named Dale Davis and Eldon Campbell. Now we're worried about an Efton Reed or who. Dale Davis and Eldon Campbell were grown men. So we can move on.
And your boy from Tennessee, right? Fresh?
Wayne Buckingham, that's right.
Wayne coming in, just Jerry curl for days. What a good player.
Bell Buckle, Tennessee. How about that?
Bell Buckle, Tennessee. All right, he was legit. He was 28 years old as a first year or as a freshman at Clemson. So, all right, let's get into.
I think they found out. I think they figured that out, and that's why he had to transfer.
Yeah, no doubt. They had some really good teams. I think they won the ACC regular season our first year fresh, and then we played in the final that year against Georgia Tech. But Clemson had a squad back then, and we're very good. Let's get into their current roster. Josh, I'm coming to you with this. Take us through their roster. Obviously, P.J. Hall and Joe Girard are the headliners here. Joe Girard, I think, the all-time leading scorer in New York State history. Former Syracuse guy. Yep. Yeah, former Syracuse guy. He actually played against Buzzy Wilkinson in 1953. He had 31 in that game. But talk to me about their roster. You mentioned they're big. Let's go through it.
Yeah, so they play some bigger guys. Up front, they go 3 across the board. Hall is 6'10", another 6'10" guy in Wiggins. Not really the biggest, though. He's still young, so maybe he could put some weight on. And then I think their biggest X factor is Ian there at 6'8". Kind of plays a 3 spot for them. Not really much of a shooter, though. Kind of does more of his damage inside. So that's where we were talking about in the forum earlier. I kind of think that they could go to the lineup with Dunn at the 3 and play Groves a little bit as well, just to try to match size. Chase Hunter is another good player, older guy. They have, let's see, I wrote it down here. Let me look. I think it was 5 of their 10 players on this team are either seniors or they're in that COVID year, the extra year of seniors. So just an older team, been around the block. They're not going to beat themselves too much. I mean, they're going through some lulls. And like I said, I think a lot of that's because of the fact that they're not necessarily a great shooting team to begin with. So they are kind of on a down skid at the time, but they're still an older group that understands what they got to do, and they're getting a chance at home to do it today.
Yeah, it's big. Let's go through a couple quick metrics. They're 29, ranked 29 in their strength of schedule. They're 31 in KenPom, ding. And they're 33 in the net. So, they have, and they're 4-5 in the ACC. This gets them back to 500. I think they're looking at this as like the pivotal point of their game. Makes me nervous. I know it's important for us, but I do think it's just as important, if not more important, for them to beat us. I expect a really, really spirited crowd there. And all right, we're going to go to another segment here called Muy Caliente, fresh. I'm talking to you. Muy Caliente, very, very hot. Yep. As a Swedish boy from Boston, you can understand my authentic accent there. As a guy who is constantly patrolling forum, and you have your finger on the pulse of the fan base and our LRA posse, what is hot right now? What is on the top of minds of forum as we head into this game?
I think it's been the emergence of Jordan Minor and maybe Groovy Groves. If I've felt like Groves would have a game like this at some point. He's confident. He's been there. He's been in big arenas. He's been in hostile arenas. It's a lot different than guys who played at St. Andrews or Merrimack. Those two, right? Now, what's hot, what's not hot, and what's stopped being talked about is Andrew Rohde. Look for him to just say F it one of these games and just go ball.
I agree with that. So the Rohde Tane debate, I feel like I'm one of the founding fathers of that debate, and I've kind of moved off it. I've said everything I need to say. I think today we might see a new starting lineup. I think we're going to go big to match their size. Do you, Josh, as we head into the game, and maybe it's up right now, but we can never tell because we're live on air, and maybe our forum people can.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, I can't see any comments today, so I apologize for now. I love the comments and I love responding to them. I love posting them up, but I'm on a different apparatus today, so I'm not able to do that right now. Sorry.
All right. Do we see a new starting lineup? Do we go big? Is Blake playing? Is he there? What are we don't know this stuff. Let's get into it.
So it's good timing for you to actually ask that. They literally just posted. Same starting lineup. It's going to be Reese, Isaac, Rohde, Ryan, and then Jordan Minor. So no difference there. I do agree with you, though. I think that starting the game, it's good, but it's not always the be-all, end-all. A lot of times people point out the closing lineup is what matters more.
Yeah, sure.
I do tend to agree with you. I think that we go to that 3 big lineup, if you want to call it that, where Dunn slides down to the 3 more. And I'm really hoping Blake does get to play today just because we're going to need him. I mean, this is a big team we're playing against. And Minor coming along is huge in that it shores up those issues where we were kind of truthfully being exposed earlier in the season. But that being said, PJ Hall plays at an All-American level. I mean, that's a very, very, very talented, experienced player there. So we're going to need every look we can to have to throw at him. So I haven't seen anything on Blake yet, but I am hoping for sure that he plays.
I like that idea about different looks.
He's there. I don't know if that means he's warming up or not, but I saw somebody say they saw him in a photo. So
wait, what happened with Blake? I'm lost.
Supposedly he has the flu. I think they said that was mentioned in the post-game conference Wednesday night. And then I think it was kind of a rumor started that he may not be able to play today. It kind of fed into it. They put up pictures yesterday of the team getting on the planes, and there was no shot of him, to dispel that. But then I saw somebody comment about 20 minutes ago saying that they did see a photo of him, so hopefully he's there. I mean, we'll all find out here in a few minutes,
There's no excuse at this point. Come on, Blake, play with the flu. Got his nose rammed down his throat, and he got Dr. Pepper and bourbon thrown on him. Let's play, Blake. He'll be fine from Idaho. He probably hitchhiked down there if the plane wouldn't let him on. He probably hitchhiked down there and said, "Coach, I'm playing."
Well, with our NIL budget, I'm sure we were able to get him a Greyhound down to Clemson. So hopefully he's there. Hopefully he is there. Blake obviously has been coming on strong lately. I think he's one of the big bright spots for us. Minor kind of came in the NC State game, and that was kind of his first appearance. And then he's grown. He's become really, really solid. Blake's been better coming off the bench. I like what I'm seeing from Blake fresh. Talk to me a little bit about him and what you see.
Yeah, I think Blake probably has to give Minor his treehouse dollars, right? Like the best thing that happened to Blake was not being in the spotlight like he put himself in against Florida. He had some amazing games, but it's really hard to sustain, right? So Minor, the emergence of Minor and maybe the staff being able to integrate him and make him a bigger part has really been big for Blake. He can do it at a different pace now and relax. I'm really excited to watch Minor now in the ACC. Like he's a real part of the team now. He's a starter. He's a real guy. But now he's going to play against better and better players, right, in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah, first of all, I got to apologize to Jen, who didn't like what I said at some point earlier in the show. Jen, I apologize. I feel like you are the maternal instinct for all of our locker room access, and if I said something wrong, my bad. I don't know, but
Sorry, Jen.
By the way, we should start every show by saying the following images and sound bites you're about to hear may be disturbing to some viewers. Proceed at your own discretion. That's locker room access. Okay, let's keep it going. I'm going to go to a sensitive topic here for Fresh. One of the things we have not seen in a while is Elijah.
Yep.
X getting, he has like 7 nicknames, but I'll go with X.
I like
X not playing a lot. Is this a game, especially with Blake maybe hampered by illness? Do we see Elijah? Certainly, we could use his athleticism. And do you think we see him today more, or is he still going to be relegated out of the rotation?
I think he's relegated right at this point. I don't know why. I don't have an answer for it. I don't have any inside information. I do talk to his dad from time to time, and from his camp, let's call it, from Elijah and his family side, nothing but positivity for all the fans to know. Nothing but positivity. They appreciate that they're at Virginia. Do I agree that he's not playing? Will I get in a fight with Jason Williford when I see him? Probably. I need him to get time, and he needs to get time. We have an NBA guy sitting on our bench, quite frankly. I don't see it happening today, but me and you went through it. I went through it when I got hurt one time, and I was told I didn't have a position anymore, and I came back and went to practice every day. Me and you battled everybody, and I got my chances and got it back. So he's working hard, and he appreciates where he is.
Yeah, agree with that. All right, Jim brings up a really good point, something I thought about earlier about fouls. If Blake is not available or if he's sick, Minor's kind of our only guy, like our legitimate only guy. He's got to watch his fouls today. Does he get the quick hook if he gets, a second foul? I mean, we always take guys out with the second foul. So if he is in foul trouble, who comes in if Blake's not available? Are we going Groves? Do we start activating guys we haven't seen? Do we go small? Like, what's the plan, Josh? What do you think you would do?
If Blake's unable to play, I mean, if he can play, you put him in as much as possible. You just got to deal with that, especially being honestly that what could benefit them. Not to get too far ahead of us, but they do play a very small guard-oriented team on Monday. So it's kind of one of those deals where you look at it like, okay, if he can push through it, there's an extended break where you may not necessarily need him as much in the next one. But if he can't play, then I think your probably first look is you go with Groves just because, we ran it early in the season. There's some familiarity there. I personally think that not really going with Elijah, but I think Leon could be a guy that we didn't see at all last game, and I think he could get some minutes today in the spots where they need it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. You know, Leon has not had a ton of minutes. He's been, I think, quiet, but not unsatisfactory as a first year. Is today the day Leon gets some minutes fresh and gets his like funky mid-range weird game going, or are they just too big?
I think he's going to need to, and Leon he just needs to come out and play. He's not great with the ball. He's got to do the things he's good at, right? He's not great at the ball with the ball. You see him, he gets in the air and he throws it somewhere and doesn't know. He doesn't really have a plan. Just go his mentality needs to be a Dennis Rodman. I hate saying, all you got to do is be Dr. J, but Dennis Rodman, just go in, disrupt things, play great defense, and get every rebound. That should be Leon's goal. Get every single rebound offensively and defensively. I hope we see him. I keep forgetting how many guys we have. We have so many options. And as we said, as we've seen this year, different guys stepping up at different times has been amazing. You've got Reese is the steady factor, right? And then you've had Isaac go off. We had Groves go off last game. Ryan Dunn obviously going off at times. So I think we get more of that.
Well, I think we just set a record on Locker Room Access. We did 21 minutes of a show without mentioning Reese's name. But he's been really no, I mean, like the reason we haven't mentioned it is because we have come to expect so much of him, and he's been so solid this year that it's almost like a given type thing. Yep. Let's talk about Reese Fresh. Give me like your view of Reese this year versus last year, the leadership role, Kihei, non-Kihei. I think he's been outstanding, and quite frankly, I was not a big believer in Reese as an NBA prospect, but now I look at him and I think, okay, he's got much more of a chance. Still got to work in his shooting, but wow, he's been very good. Even with the flu the other night, getting 21 points. Talk about Reese in his fourth year.
Well, that's what you see, the versatility in his game. You'll have a 21-point game. You'll have a 7-assist game. You'll have a 10-rebound game. You'll have a 0-turnover game. You'll have a 7-steal, 5-steal game, a 2-block shot game, right? His game's got a lot of versatility. It took a while, to your point, even though I always loved him, it took a while to arrive. And he understands. I'll tell you something he understands very well. This is his team, and he better play well to win. And if we want to go to the NCAA tournament and make any sort of noise, he better play as well as he can play. But you see it in him, and you remember going to college, man. You're different as a third year. You're an upperclassman, and as a fourth year, you have everything figured out, right? Nobody had it more figured out than you did at the University of Virginia. That's for sure on all fronts.
Well, socially.
I just love seeing him, and he's doing, the Cavs futures thing is great with NIL. He's doing a lot of stuff in the community. He's really comfortable in his own skin, and he may never leave Charlottesville. He might just keep coming back.
Okay, I think we all agree there. Let's talk about obviously big game. Who do we think is going to be? We always do score predictions. Let's talk about the player we think is going to step up the most today, who's going to be a difference maker in what we hope is a Hoos win, and then we'll get to prediction. Is there anyone, Josh, for you that you want to see bust out a little bit, show up, have a big game out of nowhere that can be a difference maker for us?
The biggest one that I'm looking for, and it's not really out of nowhere, so I don't want to take away from that, but I want to see Jake Groves continue shooting the way that he shot Wednesday night, even if they're not necessarily going in. I've done a few, talks about it here and there this year, that his shooting on the road has just been kind of silenced, meaning that he's not making them. He's not even taking them. So I just want to see him stay to be aggressive to that. As far as sticking out, though, today for us to get the win, I think Ryan Dunn has to have the biggest game. Maybe not so much per scoring, but I really do think Shefflin's a major X factor, and I think Ryan's going to have to shut him down and maybe even play a little bit on Hall, too, depending on foul trouble.
Yeah, Fresh. So he took your answer. He took my answer. Yep. I'm going to force you to think on the run right here. Who else outside of Ryan would you
I will. You know what? You guys said it. I would not have even thought about it. It's going to be Leon Bond, because we're going to need a guy that's not an obvious guy today. It's one of those games, right? And if this Blake thing, if he was sick, he's not going to be 100%. Guys were sick last week. Whatever. Somebody like Leon, I don't care what he does, just do it good. meaning I don't care if he gets 10 points or 0 points, but if he gets a lot of rebounds, plays great D, I'm going to say Leon Bond in a very less obvious way because the real answer is Ryan Dunn for sure.
Yeah, I'll agree. So I will branch it out to a third option, and I'm combining two players here. But what I want to see, there's been a lot on forum about Rhodey versus Tane, and what I've realized is we have to think about them kind of in aggregate, right? So that position has to if we get 15 points out of Tane and Andrew Rhodey combined, like that's a good outcome for us. So they offer different things. Rhodey is much, I think, more solid with the ball. I think Tane is much more aggressive. I think defensively they're sort of equal. So if we can combine them, and we'll call them Toady. That's the Tane and Rhodey combination. If Toady can come up with 15 today, I like our chances because we've got the people. The big question is how sick is Blake, and what happens if Minor gets in trouble. We don't have in the past we've had other guys that can come in and be a big body. We really don't have that. So we're going to have to be economical with our fouls and our allocation of minutes. Okay. It's time to get down to final scores. Vegas has this at like 4.5 right now. It moved down from 5.5. So Vegas is starting to say, okay, there's something I like about Virginia.
Yep.
I never pay attention to that. Let's go final score and MVP of the game from each of you guys.
Can I go first
down? And I'll start with you, Fresh.
By the way, one of my favorite things was when Josh said that Jake just needs to keep shooting like he did last game, going 6 for 9 every game. No big deal, right? But You walked it back. You walked it back nice. And I about being a little bit better on the road, so I agree with that. I don't know why this is in my mind. I think it's going to be overtime, 80-77 Virginia.
Ooh,
I know that's way too high, but it just came to my it just came to my mind. What was the other question?
MVP. Who's going to be like our best player today? Who's going to step up?
I think it's going to be. I think the most valuable player will be Reese Beekman.
Okay.
As far as TV, but I think Ryan Dunn is going to be our most important player today.
All right. So
and Ryan might be that guy that bridges the gap if Blake's not 100%, as opposed to having to be Groves, having to be Robinson off a red shirt, something crazy like that. I think a lot's on Ryan. I think he steps up in those situations.
Okay, good.
He's not afraid of the spotlight. You know what I mean?
No doubt. All right, Josh, score and MVP for Virginia today.
Yeah, so everything is kind of feeling rough for us today. Clemson's getting to go home. They kind of need to have this win more than anything. We're concerned about, is Blake going to be able to play? Is he not? It's already a tough matchup with their bigs. That being said, I'm never going to pick against Virginia for any reason in anything. So I'm going to say 67-62 Hoos today. Kind of do the same thing that you just did there. I'd say Reese would be the MVP as far as who they're going to want to talk about and talk to after the game. But if you're really following along, it's going to be what Ryan Dunn is able to do.
Think so,
okay. I'm gonna switch it up. I am going to say that we lose 65-62.
Fucking half.
I know. I don't like it, but I'm going to say, and this is kind of a nod to the old days when Jordan had his flu game, I think Blake is going to play. Now, if he doesn't play, then I get a second choice at halftime. But I think Blake is going to be really good today. Sometimes when you're sick, as Fresh knows, you play really well.
Yep. It's amazing.
Like, some unknown reason, like maybe it's just an economy of movement or
it's
whatever.
Your concentration is way better, and I'm not sure how it's possible. That's what it is.
I agree. So I got Clemson 65-62 with Blake. I hope I'm wrong, man. This is a big one for both teams. Obviously means a lot to Clemson. They're at home. Probably our toughest road test. Well, our toughest road test so far this year in the ACC. Let's get one at Little John. We're about a minute away from tip. So, guys, join us at the half. For Josh and my man Fresh, I'm Hav. We'll see you guys at halftime. Go Hoos.